Okay, and welcome everybody. Greetings. It's time to talk really quickly about what we are up to for Project 3, which is what we call a quick reference infographic. And we are kind of using the term infographic and data visualization, as you've probably caught from the lecture, we're using those pretty much interchangeably. So if you head to our assignments tab in Canvas and go down to Project 3, you can click on it and open it there and follow along if you'd like. I'm just going to read through it, and I just wanted to make this available. Sometimes it's useful, I think, for students to hear the professor sort of talk through something rather than just to assign it without any context. And that's what I'm attempting to do with these little kind of assignment discussions, just to walk through them with you. So Project 3 is going to have two components. The first component is that you're gonna actually generate an infographic, and the second component is that you're going to do a little bit of what we might call a rhetorical reflection, where you articulate the choices that you've made and you kind of show your work like you did in math class. You show me that you're thinking about audience and exigence and constraints. And so this is what the assignment looks like. So the very first part, the context here is that we're assuming, so think about your projects in this class as connected, right? And I think that's part of the useful nature of this class. So for this assignment, we're assuming that your outreach email and your resume has actually landed you a job or an internship at the company to which you applied. So now that you work for the company, your manager has handed you a task, and that is to generate a quick reference infographic to help land the company new clients or new customers. And now this is pretty simple on one hand, but it's actually a little bit more complex than just, say, being asked to generate an infographic that is purely informational, because in this case, your infographic has to be both informational and persuasive, right? You're telling people important information and that you're using that information to persuade them to become clients or customers of your company. So that's your job, according to your boss at this new company. So these customers can be of any ilk, right? They can be industry, they can be regular ticket buying travelers, like if we're using an airline example. But it's important that you know who your audience is in a very, very specific way. The more specifically you can narrow your audience down here, particularly for the rhetorical reflection, the more effective your infographic is going to be. Because if you know who you're speaking to, you know the kinds of appeals that you need to generate to be effective with that particular audience. So what you're going to need, as I just mentioned, right, is a super clear sense, not just of audience, but of the whole rhetorical situation. Audience, exigence, constraints. So the exigence here is probably the clearest part of the assignment. That is, right, you're winning your company new clients or customers. So you're going to have to theorize in advance who you're talking to, as I just mentioned. And so do this slicing and dicing early. And try to slice, as I said once before, try to slice your audience into small bite-sized pieces so you have a sense of, say, what your audience looks like demographically speaking. Are you talking to young people, old people, men, women, educated, uneducated, old, young? I think I said old, young. I'm getting old. The infographic also has to include some definitions, some descriptions, some instructions about the organization and how to complete the specific tasks that you're asking them to complete, which in this case is, of course, patronizing their company. To do this, I want you to work in either Adobe Express, Pictochart, Canva, or Visme. Or you can work in PowerPoint as well. And I need you to create and fill in your own design template. And that is, you can use a design template that these sites already offer you, but I don't want you to just use it straightforwardly. I want you to adapt it, right? I want you to do some of the work here of making it specific to your audience. And so essentially when I'm grading this project or this part of the project, right, I'm going to grade the project on these 5 elements. And so I'm not really a rubric person, but I know some people appreciate having a really good sense of kind of how things are going to be evaluated. So I'm evaluating your infographic on the following 5 elements. First, the creation and adaptation of this design template. And I particularly mean the adaptation of it in most cases. That is, that you're not just using something that somebody gave you, you're adapting it, you're making it your own, and you're making it serve the rhetorical needs of this particular situation. 2, the composition of effective textual elements. So this is meaningful but concise and compelling use of language. In terms of images, in terms of things that are not language, images, colors, fonts, graphs, charts, tables, QR codes. Use these things, make them interactive if possible. And I want to say that interactivity is something, of course, that we talked about in relation to Kostelnik. Interactivity, engagement, immersion sort of being the new persuasion. So if you can make an interactive an interactive infographic, I want you to try to do it. If you can do that and pull it off, it's going to be good for you. Of course, it won't hurt people who don't choose to do that. But I will say, just in terms of industry, what I know about industry, interactive infographics just get more done than static infographics. But I also understand that we have a limited time frame in order to get this done. But I really want you to take away the importance of interactivity and the kinds of immersive engagement that generates for audiences. I also want to see evidence inside the design of the QRI that it is successfully rhetorically situated. I need to know by looking at it in just a second who it's targeted to and what it's trying to get done, right? One of the glorious elements of the QRI is that it's quick, right? It allows us to consume lots of complicated information in a relatively quick way. And so I need to be able to see that when I look, at the infographic. And I also, in this note, ask you to remember Tuft here, right? That the simplicity and the beauty go together, and they have both ethical components as well. But Tuft has that lovely ratio, right, between information to ink. He wants the most information you can give with the least amount of ink, which I think is kind of lovely. So once you've generated that, then I ask for a 1 to 2 page reflection letter. And if you look at the bottom, I want the reflection letter to be formatted as a formal business letter with the following specifications. I want a header, a greeting, and a salutation. And then I want you to write in concise, well-organized paragraphs that respond to the assignment. And again, I am the audience for your letter, which is this time me as a teacher, not necessarily me as the boss in your company, but I don't see why those two things could not overlap. In the letter, which is the final component of the assignment, I want you to examine your attempts to communicate with your audience by reflecting on the various argument components, design components, graphical choices, placement, color, font, etc. Here, I want you to make plain the choices and how these choices sort of will be successful for your particular audience. So in outlining the QRA's rhetorical choices, the reflection letter should end with a brief evaluation, explaining the facets of the QRI that are most successful and which could be improved upon. So in doing so, your reflection letter should answer the following questions. Who's the audience? Who's the text written for? Obviously, your intended reader plays a large role in terms of how you appeal to your audience. So the audience consisting of children would need a very differently designed QRI than, say, an audience of engineers. I want you to be able to tell me what the purpose is. I also want you to be able to tell me what the context is. And finally, I want you to tell me what design principles you use, and be aware, in terms of the 5 things I'll be grading you on, you are to incorporate at least 3 of these sort of 5 essential design principles, and I will be looking for those to be articulated in the letter as well. So that is the assignment for infographic 3. It is 1-page infographic, or 2 if it needs to be, and then a 1 to 2 page reflection letter. So it should be relatively simple, and we are kind of continuing on this trajectory now inside the company that you've articulated. So have some fun with this, right? Like you kind of, in some ways, kind of get to be the boss and the worker in this case. And so have some fun, really, design something that is meaningful, design something that's beautiful, create something that you can use as a template for other infographics if you plan on using these in the rest of your work here at K-State. Okay, that's what I'll leave you with for today. And of course, as always, reach out with any questions, and I would love to visit. Thank you so much.